Welcome to Honors Physics Podcast. This is electricity homework. This is chapter 18 in the Cutnell and Johnson book. We're looking at question number 1 from the conceptual section. The figure shows a grounding wire being removed first, following a rod, and then the sphere being left with a positive charge. What essentially is happening here is we have an ebonite rod, which is a very highly insulative material, which has a negative charge. It polarizes our sphere so that this half of the sphere has an excess of negative charges, and this half now has fewer negatives than it should have. Those negatives are allowed a pathway to the ground, so they are grounded. The electrons travel all the way down here, so they're somewhere down here. And then we remove the grounding wire, and we're left with all the positive charges. If we did it slightly differently, and we removed the rod first, remember all of those electrons are down here, so they would notice that there is a pathway to a location with fewer electrons. So if we remove the grounding wire second, first we remove the rod, then we remove the grounding wire, we would find that all of those electrons would travel back up the wire and back into here. So whereas we had a bunch of excess protons, then we would be left with a neutral charge, because the electrons would be allowed to travel back up. Okay, we're going to add in question number 2 here. We have a metallic object charged by the same process shown above. So does the mass of the object increase, decrease, or remain the same? We find that it in fact does decrease. And it decreases by the number of electrons, or by the mass of number of electrons. So we'll insert the mass of number of electrons that left, right? Because if they did in fact leave, if they were induced to move and then they were allowed to leave, we now have less electrons on there. So if one electron left, we would have 8.31 times 10 to the negative 31st less mass. So if n electrons leave, we have n times that, less mass. If the object is given a negative charge by induction, we increase our mass, because if we are given a negative charge by induction, remember the only thing that leaves are electrons, the only thing that can move are electrons. So it's different because it's not that we are losing protons. We are gaining extra electrons. So here we are losing electrons, and here we are gaining electrons. So as we gain electrons, we increase our mass because we have, again, a number of electrons coming up. This is Honors Physics, chapter number 18 from the Cutnell and Johnson book, and these are conceptual problems 1 and 2.